On this episode of Locked On Angels, how about 6 wins in a row? How about 7-2 on the road trip? How about 10 runs in that game last night? And how about that bullpen helping out the starters? And oh, by the way, how about our best friend, Logan O'Hoppe, hitting 2 home runs last night? This is our team. We're excited about them, and let's talk about them today. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Taking it one game at a time. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Time to subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with John and I and be a part of the conversation.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our 4th season as a host of Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you Monday through Friday, every single weekday, 5 days a week. On today's show, Christian Moore was moved to AAA. We're going to share the reason why, and we'll give you an update on Robert Stephenson. When is he going to come back, and how will it impact this bullpen once he is back? But Mike, last night, the Angels secured their 6th win in a row. I can't remember the last time they won 6 in a row. I got to go back. And Steve, can you look? Oh, no producer Steve? All right.
Not today.
No, he's off. I can't remember the last time they won 6 in a row, but that's what they've done, facing the Dodgers in the 3-game sweep. Now they got 3 against the A's, so this is a really great road trip for them, so to speak, so far, right?
Yeah, another series win for the Halos, which is great, and beating the A's 3 games in a row, finding themselves with 6 wins in a row. John, it started in the top of the second for the Halos last night. Jorge Soler singled, and then Logan O'Hoppe hit his first home run of the night, just his first home run of the night, 12th on the season at the time, 470 feet, Jonathan. Woo. Hammered that ball. Furthest of his career, obviously. Previous farthest was 467 feet. That was last June against the Giants in San Francisco. John, it was the second longest home run this season, and the longest is our buddy Mike Trout, 484 feet on April 19th. That gave the Halos a 2-run lead.
How could I forget? I was there for that Mike Trout home run. That was pretty great to see. Bottom of the second, Jack Kochanowicz gave it all back and much more, Mike. He was struggling to hit the zone in this one. Just did not have his best stuff. There was an error by Tim Anderson. I think that should have been ruled a hit.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Error.
Right.
Yeah.
A single by Max Schumann. Lawrence Butler hits a 3-run home run. That one just stayed up in the zone. The changeup stayed up in the zone. And the issue is that it just kept carrying and carrying and carrying. And I think even Matthew Lugo was like, when's this one going to come down, right?
Well, and Kochanowicz even did kind of a shoulder shrug like, wait, that went out?
Yeah.
Because he was surprised that it just kept carrying like it did.
Yeah, so when it's 100 degree in the evening this summer in Sacramento, the ball's going to be flying around that yard. Right. Kochanowicz made an error in this one, but it didn't come back to bite him. Top of the third, the Angels get it back. Tim Anderson doubles in this one. Later comes around to score on a Zach Neto home run, a sweeper up in the zone. That one was hit 409 feet. Real quick, Tim Anderson. I know that we were worried that he was going to get a bunch of playing time, but Tim Anderson off the bench and in a game every now and then feels like it's working, right?
Yeah, it is working. It's a good decision by Wash not to have him in there all of the time. But the thing that I like about him, right? The thing that I like about him, John, is I know his bat isn't strong, but if you look at his numbers last year and the year before, he's kind of hitting those marks right now. But the thing that I really appreciate about him is his defense. He's a strong defender, and he's somebody that you can count on, and he's somebody that's going to make the difficult play, much like Yoan Moncada. Moncada's got really smooth hands, smooth feet, and same thing with Tim Anderson. I like having him off the bench, John, and I don't think that he's going to be somebody that needs to worry about his position on this team. I think he's on this team for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Logan O'Hoppe led off the top of the fourth with his second home run of the night. Originally, it was 415 feet but they upgraded it to 431. Mike, a combined 901 feet worth of home run from Logan O'Hoppe. Now his 13th on the year. This is the first time the Angels went back-to-back in home runs, as Joe Adell followed up with a solo shot, his 6th home run of the year. Gave the Halos a 3-run lead, was their 6th runs of the night. Jeff Fletcher tweeted, the Angels did not score 6 runs in a single game over a 21-game span from April 11th to May 4th. In the 15 games since, they've done it 7 times. The offense is a big reason why this team has been better lately. Do you ever just lay awake at night and think about those weeks where they were just awful at the plate?
Yeah.
Trying to hit everything out. Now, I know it was home run happy in this one, but they did it with guys on base. They certainly piled on. And look, I'm going to take the home run if that's how you're going to score your runs, especially in this AAA ballpark.
Right.
Just lay awake at night and think about, like, man, if that month span where they stunk hadn't gone that way, imagine where they would have been right now.
Right. And they're making really good approaches at the plate. And you see that. We'll talk about that later on with Taylor Ward and Jorge Soler getting doubles and triples in this game. John, bottom 5, Nick Kurtz led off with a moonshot home run. It was a changeup. It was middle down. It was the same place and same pitch that Lawrence Butler hit out earlier. Then Kochanowicz walks Urias. And John, that knocked him out of the game. Wash came out and wanted to give him a chance to get through 5, but he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
4 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 5 walks. Yeah. He tied his season high with 6 Ks. He threw 99 pitches. John, last time we talked about Kochanowicz was against the Dodgers, and he was throwing that changeup really effectively. Throwing it last night, he was really not using it like he did against the Dodgers. Only threw it 15 times. He threw it 12 times to left-handed batters, 3 times to right-handed batters, had a 32% CSW with a change. He used his sinker a whole lot more. In fact, 50% of the time he used his sinker. So what was different about Kochanowicz last night versus Kochanowicz against the Dodgers?
I hate to be a body language expert, but that tells me everything we need to know in terms of Jack Kochanowicz not having a feel for his pitches, right? You rely on the pitch that you trust the most, and that's his sinker. So it makes sense that he threw it 50% of the time, and that changeup only 15 times throughout the night. And it showed. The evidence was there. He couldn't hit the strike zone, Mike. Everything was falling out of the zone, as it should, but it just wasn't close enough to really fool anybody. Now, he did get 6 strikeouts, which is good on him. And so it goes to show that some of it was working. Yeah. But when he needed to, get strike 1 and hit the zone, he just couldn't do it. And so I think that he reverted back to the pitch that's most comfortable for him. But even that pitch wasn't hitting the zone all that often.
Yeah. And the bullpen came in, John. They had a bend but don't break mentality, and I got to give them credit. They bent but didn't break last night. Brock Burke takes over for Kochanowicz. He got the first 2 outs, and then there were 2 runners on. Sean Anderson enters the game, and he gets Langoliers to fly out to center field. Then bottom 7, the A's get another run. Nick Kurtz hits his 2nd home run of the game off of Sean Anderson. Fastball, top of the zone, hits it to dead center field. And then after Urias has an infield single, Anderson walks Brown, and that brings Wash back out. He brings in Hector Neris, and Schumann was not master of the house and was not helpful to the Angels. He bunted here. and then Shonowell fields the ball, and he throws it to third, John. What a great play by Nolan Shonowell, because it could have easily been a play where he wanted to turn around and throw it to first, but Shonowell made a decision before he got to the ball, knew what he wanted to do, and threw that runner out at third base.
Well, hold on, because Kevin Newman over there at third base, all he had to do was touch the bag.
Yes.
Because it was a force out.
Yes.
But he goes to tag the runner at third, which he does, but there could have been a play at first base.
Yeah, could have thrown it back.
And it was just like, why does this keep happening to Wash's team, Mike?
Right.
It's just like, you forget how many outs there are. You forget that it's a force out. You forget this. You forget that. Like, what are we doing here? And so it's just absolutely ridiculous. Fortunately, it didn't come back to bite Hector Neris because he got Lawrence Butler to fly out. Langoliers grounded into a fielder's choice. Hector Neris, listen to this, has inherited 9 runners since joining the Halos, and he's stranded all 9 of them.
So good. Top 8. Taylor Ward leads off with a triple. It was his second hit of the night at the time, 7th straight game with an extra base hit. Then Soler follows with an RBI double. John, a big insurance run for the Angels late in the game. Then O'Hoppe and Adell, they follow with back-to-back walks. And then Matthew Lugo grounds into a double play with 2 outs. And so there's 2 outs in the inning. Angels don't score, and O'Hoppe almost got thrown out because he hesitated running from second to third. But then with 2 outs, there was a wild pitch, which benefited the Angels. It made it a 3-run lead, which was good. Then bottom 8, Ryan Zefferjon comes in, gets the first 2 hitters, then gives up a single, but then got Nick Kurtz to ground out. We talked about him yesterday. Zefferjon was not throwing his four-seam fastball that often. John, last night, 6 of his 15 pitches in the 8th inning were that four-seam fastball. And John, all 3 outs were on that pitch.
Shout out to Locked On Everydayer Ryan Zefferjon for tuning into yesterday's show and picking up what we were putting down, right, Mike?
Hey, Barry, Mike and John said I need to throw the 4-seam, so I'm going to throw that tonight. You're welcome.
Finally, at the top of the 9th, Zach Neto leads off with a single. Sean O'Well bunts him over. Neto steals third base. Now, it looked like he came off the bag, but unfortunately for the A's, they used their challenge. That's a shame, which I was waiting around for them to be able to get some sort of challenge because these rules are stupid. Haven't you seen it when there are times where they can't challenge because they're out of challenges, but it's an umpire review or it's a manager's challenge or it's a Wayne Randazzo from the booth challenge. It doesn't make any sense to me,
right? This
challenge system. So the fact that it was, no, you're out of challenges. Finally, something makes sense about these weird rules. We're going to have to talk to the fan council at MLB about all this stuff. So he steals third. Ward singles him in, his 3rd hit of the night. Let's celebrate Taylor Ward for 1 second. This comes from Locked On Angels Hall of Famer Brent McGuire. Taylor Ward, since May 4th, 32 games, had a 144 plate appearances. I shouldn't say since May 4th, through May 4th. I'm sorry. 176 average, 218 on base, 360 slugging, 6 home runs, 11 base hits. Now, since May 5th, in half that time, 15 games, 68 plate appearances, 290 average, 338 on base, 742 slugging percentage, 7 home runs, and 13 extra base hits. Mike, Jorge Soler followed with a double, scores Ward. It gives the Halos a 5-run lead, their 10th run on the night. Soler's 3rd hit and 2 RBIs for the night. Angels 3, 4, and 5 hitters combined for 6 hits, 6 RBIs, and 2 home runs. Connor Brogdon comes in, gets the A's 1, 2, 3 in the bottom of the 9th. What was different about Soler last night?
Johnny, he wasn't chasing. And that was the thing that I've noticed about this entire lineup. Joe Adell, Kyron Paris the night before, and then Soler last night. They just weren't chasing. And it's that simple. It really has been that simple for them. And when you talk about the team struggling for the last month and a half before the Dodgers series, it really was every dayers and fans of this team, you and I included, were like, dude, just stop chasing that pitch off the plate because that's what's doing all of the damage. They stopped doing that, so you're forcing the pitcher to throw it back in the zone. And Soler is notorious when it comes to hitting balls in the zone. He crushes balls in the zone. And remember, we shared a stat a few weeks back during the struggles that the Angels led the league with like meatball pitches. They had the most meatball pitches, not their pitching staff, but their hitters were seeing the most meatball pitches. John, they're taking advantage of that now.
Yeah.
They're actually allowing themselves to be patient at the plate. And then when the pitcher has to come back and throw in the zone, they're swinging away. And this is where Johnny Washington's philosophy actually works. Get your pitch and end the at bat. Problem is that they were not getting their pitch. They were chasing pitches. And it didn't feel like anybody was talking to them about that. That was in the organization. All the fans were, but not us. And then now they've stopped swinging at those terrible pitches. They're hitting the meatball pitches and ta-da, look at the results.
Yeah, exactly. 10-5 win for the Angels. Again, say it loud, say it proud. 6 straight wins. They go for the sweep and they're 7th in a row as they face the A's one more time today. It's an early one, so make sure you're tuned in. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, why did the Halos move Christian Moore to AAA? What are they hoping it will do for Christian Moore? We're going to share what the plan is coming right up.
You everydayers that are in the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com is probably the best place for you to go. If you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse.com is super reliable, and it's a great place to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website packed with all sorts of helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. And they have this inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need. It's going to be delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. They're going to know what to say to you, how to answer your questions, and you're always going to talk to a real person, so that's a benefit. And trade pros looking for maybe that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage of this, so it's your turn now. To join the Trade Master program, just go to supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can start ordering plumbing, and HVAC, and electrical supplies in just a few clicks. And when you're checking out, use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, Christian Moore moved to AAA Salt Lake on Tuesday. That caught the eye of a lot of us fans, and they wondered why this move was being made. He's been down in AA. He was only hitting .234 with 1 home run and a .665 OPS with Rocket City. Those can be a little bit deceiving because Moore has picked it up over the last few weeks. Here's the stats here. Christian Moore's first 2 weeks in AA this season, 53 plate appearances, just a 156 average, a 264 on base. This one's surprising, a 178 slugging percentage. That's not going to get it done. A 442 on base plus slugging, 41 weighted runs created plus. That means he is, let me quick math here, 59% below league average, which would be AA. A 13.2% walk rate. That's good, but a 34% K rate. However, over the next 4 weeks, he's done pretty well, hasn't he?
Yeah, 93 plate appearances, 278 batting average, 387 on base, and a 405 slugging, 792 OPS with a weighted runs created plus of 139, 15.1% walk rate. It's good. And a 23.7 K rate. So he's dropped almost 11 points, John, in those 4 weeks. That includes his last 7 games where he hit .310 with a 700 OPS. Now, the reason why they moved him from AA to AAA was, according to Wash, they wanted to help him work on one thing. Wash said Moore started swinging the bat better in AA, and the organization felt like he needed a challenge, and we're going to give him that challenge in AAA. And that specific challenge, Johnny, is they would love Christian Moore to display more power. They want him to hit the ball with more power. Remember, last year got off to that really hot start. Probably would have been a September call-up if he didn't suffer that minor knee injury. But he hit .347 with a 400 on base and a .584 with 6 home runs and 6 doubles and 20 RBIs in 25 games in Single-A Inland Empire and Double-A Rocket City. It was 2 games in the Inland Empire and 23 games in Rocket City last year. But he did lack some power in spring training, right? He hit .217, a .321 on base, just .238 slugging with a double, a triple, 4 RBIs in 25 games.
We always joke on the show how we wanted to go see him at Inland Empire, but the 2 games he played were away games. So we never got a chance to go see him because he's like in between where I live and you live. It would have been great to meet up and go see Christian Moore, but he got promoted after those 2 games. The reason for this push for power is because it's one of his best attributes. At the University of Tennessee as a junior last year, Christian Moore batted .375, had a .451 on base, and a .797 slugging percentage with 34 home runs, 74 RBI, and 72 games. That's the kind of power they want him to display. That's the kind of hitter they want to see him be, and they think that AAA is going to help him develop his power. Now, he did have his first game in AAA on Tuesday night. He went 3 for 4 with a walk and 2 RBIs in that one for a 6-5 win.
You may also remember, because you're an everydayer and you watch the show every day, we talked about Christian Moore defensively, and there's been a concern about his defense. But according to Wash, he's really improving defensively at second base. Wash said that Moore played more in more than 30 games and only made 2 errors and has looked really good, looked really smooth. He's been doing better defensively, and he started swinging the bat better, and they wanted to give him this challenge by moving him up to AAA, not just offensively, but defensively. So, Johnny, give me your thoughts on this move from AA to AAA for Christian Moore.
I got to thinking about it, and I was thinking about the fact that when Christian Moore got to the minor leagues last year, he's coming off a season with the University of Tennessee where he's playing ball every day. He gets drafted, keeps playing ball, right? I know there was a little bit of a gap between his last college game and his first minor league game. Mike, I wonder if he's just somebody who might be a slow starter. I wonder if that's the case because, he did pick up playing baseball again, late in the summer when he joined the minor league team and eventually ended up at AA. And so for me, I wonder if the slow start for him with Rocket City and then picking it up in the last few weeks, I wonder if that's kind of who he might be. And that's something that can be fixed. There's a lot of slow starters around baseball and They don't get hot till, May. And so perhaps for him, that's a little bit of a difference here. But all of that to say, I think that moving him up to AAA, it's definitely going to inflate his power numbers. And that's one thing I'm curious about. But the biggest thing for me is how he handles the off-speed pitching. So what's nice is that a lot of AAA ballparks have StatCast, they have Baseball Savant, they have the technology for that. And so it will be easier for us to look at the kinds of pitches he is hitting and not hitting. And so I'm curious to see, and maybe that's even why they wanted to move him up as well, to just get a little bit more data on what he's doing well versus what he's not doing well. What do you think about this move?
I wonder if they're thinking about bringing him up June, July, letting him be on the major league roster, wanting him to pitch or wanting him to hit against what could be, almost major league hitters or major league pitchers in AAA. I wonder if there is some thought process there. I think as the way that this team is designed right now, it could be easy to say, no, let him cook because we have this person and that person. And I think the Angels are probably thinking like, if he could be a shot in the arm, a shot of adrenaline for this team offensively, even though they look good offensively right now, that could be something that could be a benefit for them when it gets really hot and we're in the dog days of summer. But also, John, remember, he brings the energy and he brings the passion and he brings the fire. And so maybe they just want to have more Zach Netos and Logan O'Hoppes on this team than they have Taylor Wards or Jorge Solers, right? And no disrespect to those guys, but having guys that are just fired up and fun to be around and maybe even stretch the lineup a little bit. I also, this is just me, talking out my back pocket here, but I wonder if the Christian Moore advancement is setting up a Luis Rengifo trade.
I was thinking the same thing.
I think that Wash is kind of done with that guy, especially last night getting picked off at first, and then he was out of there. He wasn't, he wasn't playing anymore. And he's just not a great third baseman. And he bounced the ball into first base. Ball got by. It caused the A's to extend the inning. And so I don't see a guy who's as focused as he was last year, this year in Luis Rengifo. And I wonder if they're going to use him as trade bait and they want Christian Moore to be ready for major league hitting and ready for the major league experience. And that may be the ultimate reason why they're moving him up so fast.
Yeah, it certainly opens up possibilities to move some pieces around. And depending on where the Angels stand around the trade deadline, that could be a big factor as well. But it still is not a bad thing to have Christian Moore waiting in the wings, ready to go if and when the time comes.
Watching this bullpen pitch last night against the A's, I was super impressed with, and I mentioned earlier, the bend but don't break mentality. But John, usually what we've seen from this bullpen in years past, and even at moments this year, is games like last night where, oh man, there's 2 runners on, it's second and third, 1 out. Things would just kind of unravel, right? And it hasn't really unraveled. Sean Anderson has been okay, not good or great, but he's done just enough to keep the Angels in it. Hector Neris has been a find, right? Had a really bad outing this last weekend, but then last night has been really good and was able to get out of an inning. And then you have somebody like a Hunter Strickland coming in. And so all of those names are fun to talk about. But John, Robert Stephenson is waiting in the wings, and somebody that is looking pretty good right now in the minor leagues as he's rehabbing. And so the big question is, when, Johnny, will we see Robert Stephenson?
Yeah, recently he was moved to AAA Salt Lake on Monday to continue his rehab assignment. He threw 2 innings with single-A Inland Empire, allowed 1 run with 2 strikeouts. In Salt Lake, he's thrown an inning and has given up a hit and a run, but he's been hitting 97 on his fastball in his outing on Tuesday. He's eligible to be activated from the 60-day injured list on May 27th, and then his 30-day rehab assignment expires on June 12th. Wash said the Angels want to make sure he's fully healthy and has his command working before he's activated and joins the bullpen. He also added it's going to depend on his recovery and the workload he takes on. Right now, we're going to take it a day at a time and see how he recovers, see what he does, and make our adjustments from there. Mike, is a healthy and effective Stephenson going to benefit this bullpen, and how so?
I think he's going to be somebody, John, that you feel confident when he enters in there like you do with Kenley Jansen. But he's got to be the Robert Stephenson that he was with the Rays, not with the Pirates or other teams. And so that's going to be key. Him hitting 97. And then I saw a tweet, I think from Jared Timms. He hit 98 last night. Like, that's great, right? That means that he's feeling confident. His arm is feeling healthy. He's got to figure out his stuff. He's got to figure out what he needs to work on and touch and feel of his pitches. But John, he's got to be the guy that he was with the Rays. And that's going to be, I think, the next layer for him. What does he look like as he's throwing in his rehab assignments right now? Because if he's that guy, then not having Ben Joyce in this bullpen doesn't hurt as much because you have Robert Stephenson, and then Zephyr John shifts maybe to the 7th inning, or maybe Stevenson's 7th inning and Zephyr John is 8th inning and Kenley Jansen is 9th inning. John, that stretches this bullpen with guys that you go, oh yeah, try to hit this. Oh yeah, he's going to shut him down, right? And that's been the biggest thing that I've appreciated about a Kenley Jansen or a Ryan Zephyr John, is that I'm confident. They haven't been perfect, but I'm confident that they're going to shut down the opposing team when they come in. To add a third guy in this bullpen, at the back of the bullpen, that you can be confident in, that Wash can go to and not go, oh, Reed Detmers? Is that who I'm going to? Right? Like, to have a guy that Wash can go, no, I want this guy in. I'm confident he's going to get 3 outs here. That, I think, changes the game for not just the team, but I think it changes the game for Ron Washington as he makes bullpen decisions, because he struggled with that this year.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch this bullpen go from where it started to where it is now. And you've mentioned it many, many times. There's a lot of veteran experience. There's a lot of guys who've been around the block, for better, for worse, right? Not everybody is, who we thought they would be, or not everybody is who they used to be, like Hector Neris, right? So far, he's been a serviceable arm. And again, inheriting all those 9 runners and keeping him stranded, that's huge. Hunter Strickland, of course, not who he used to be, but was really effective last year. He was a workhorse. And so hopefully they can continue to turn to him. Kenley Jansen, his veteran experience. Everybody was shocked that he, pitched 2 nights ago. And it was like, well, because he doesn't care about I can't pitch 2 days, 3 days in a row, right?
Right.
That was not his era. And he is beyond that. And so it's been great to have his veteran presence as well. Look, Ryan Johnson's down in single A, or high A, I should say. Garrett McDaniels is on the IL right now. Ben Joyce out for the season. So a lot of the young guys are no longer in this bullpen. However, you've got guys like Ryan Zephyr John, Brock Burke, and even Reed Detmers to some extent, the young guys in this bullpen, but they're surrounded by these veteran presences who have been around the block. They know how to get it done. And I think Robert Stephenson is only going to add to that. Mike, I have a feeling that we will see him when we get frustrated with the bullpen. And I mean that in the sense of, let's get through this A series today, and then we face the Marlins for 3. And so hopefully the bullpen that they have now can handle that Marlins offense, because they're young, they're exciting, but it shouldn't be any different than the way the Angels handled the A's, because they're young and exciting. And I think the Marlins are in a very similar boat. So with that said, if they can get through this series and then they move on to, is it the Yankees coming to town pretty soon? If they need reinforcements, that's probably when we'll see some moves in the bullpen to just bring in more experienced guys. And maybe even Robert Stephenson makes his return after this Marlins series, where you might not need him. You might just be able to get through it with the current bullpen that you have, because you handle the A's, you should be able to handle the Marlins.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. You're going to get local analysis on a national scale, and you can find Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. We always do our best to get back to each and every one of you. Mike, what do we have on deck for Friday's show?
Well, of course, we're going to be here to recap the game from the night before, and then we're going to get you ready for that Marlins series, because there's no days off for this Halo team right now. We're going to get you ready for the Marlins series, and our friend from Locked On Marlins is going to join us. We're going to have a conversation about the Marlins, about the Angels, and hopefully we're talking maybe 7 in a row entering Friday night's game at home. We're going to talk about all of that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's make it 7 in a row today. Let's go Angels, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Most impressive stat last night, Taylor Ward, triple. I can't believe he ran that fast.
Right.